Yo, what's up, weed kids? It's your boy Instincts coming at you guys with yet another video. And in today's video, we're going to be doing something a little bit different from what I normally do. For those that do know me, know that I generally do platinum trophy videos, and I do kind of enjoy discussion videos too. So that's why I thought, try something a little different. And if you guys do enjoy it, leave a like. That does let me know that you guys want to see this. But yeah, I think this would be a nice break in between bigger and longer videos that, we can just have general discussions and see what everyone feels about certain topics. So if you guys have anything that you want to discuss, any topic at all surrounding trophy hunting, leave it in the comments down below, and we can have a little discussion, or maybe if it gets enough traction in the comments, I can make a little video on it. But that got me thinking, and today the first topic that I do want to kind of discuss is what makes a good and what makes a bad platinum trophy. I've been sitting with this thought for quite a while now, and as trophy hunters, generally speaking, we just move from one game to the next, and we don't really sit down and think about it. And I have a lot of time traveling to and from work, so it got me thinking, why don't we think about it? Why don't we discuss it and ask ourselves, was this a good platinum trophy and was it not? Because you can easily fall into the trap of being on autopilot and just doing games for the sake of making the trophy count to go up. But yeah, this landed me on the topic of what makes a good platinum and what makes a bad platinum. So the first topic that I do want to discuss with you guys is New Game Plus trophies. New Game Plus trophies to me can be very controversial. Well, I don't think it's that deep, but the point I'm trying to make is that I do feel like sometimes New Game Plus trophies ruin a trophy list for me personally. It all depends on what New Game Plus entails. Bad example of New Game Plus for me is Spider-Man. The Spider-Man games generally have New Game Plus where you just run through the game again, and it doesn't really change your playthrough from the first playthrough to the second playthrough. Now, sure, you can obviously go and adjust the difficulty and make it a little bit more challenging for yourself, but at that point you just finished the game. Why would you make it harder for yourself unless the trophy list demands that? And even then, the question is, does the game actually warrant being put on a harder difficulty? Does difficulty to the game mean the HP and attacks just do more damage? Is that what difficulty is? Because I don't generally think that's good difficulty. I think good difficulty is adding new mechanics for bosses, adding new mechanics for enemies, and making you play the game in a different way, which is why I will say a good example of New Game Plus. I've done 3 Devil May Cry games, onto my 4th one, and I would say I'm really proud of myself for doing that. But the point I'm trying to make is those games demand harder playthroughs. You have different enemy spawn locations according to the difficulty of the game, as well as different mechanics. Sometimes bosses bring out new moves that you wouldn't see on other difficulties, and I think this adds a nice layer of complexity to the game. It gives you a reason to replay the game. It allows you to apply the skills that you've learned in your first playthrough. You can see a tangible increase in your skill level in the first playthrough and the last playthrough. So I think DMC does New Game Plus exceptionally well. It's not called New Game Plus, but that's the first topic that I think distinguishes a good platinum trophy from a bad platinum trophy. And I think the next one is one that's quite controversial as well, probably the most on this list, but actually looking at it, I think there might be one more that is a bit more controversial, and I think I have a hot take when it comes to that one. But the next one that I do want to bring up is collectibles. Collectibles can ruin a trophy list for me. I know there's games that have hundreds and hundreds of collectibles, and I don't think anyone besides a handful of people sit there and enjoy doing collectibles. I don't think it's fun at all. Yes, sure, you can have like a little video on the side that basically helps you through it, but I don't think that makes it enjoyable. I don't want to sit here and pause a video the whole time and look for collectibles. Although I do it, as a trophy hunter, and especially as a content creator, I feel like I'm kind of forced to do it. Now there is obviously nuance to this as well. There are games that do collectibles well, but the example of bad collectibles would be things that are just lore related. Like, yes, sure, but are you that invested in the game to the point where you enjoy the lore? Are you actually going to sit there and read all of these lore pieces? Like for example, I'm playing through Dragon Age the Veilguard, and I stopped streaming because the game is that bad. The collectibles are so bad because they add no value to the game. it's just little notes that give you little pieces of lore on what happened in a certain location and things like that. Now, sure, for a story purpose, it might be good, but you know, it doesn't affect gameplay. This might be a hot take, but I think understanding the story more for Dragon Age: The Veilguard God doesn't add to the enjoyment of that game, because it's just a bad game in general. And then you have examples of good collectibles, games that allow you to, you know, gain power through collectibles. Things like Ratchet and Clank is one that I can think off the top of my head. There is a weapon that is generally extremely powerful right at the end. I can't get to the name off the top of my head now. Oh, it's the Rhino. Yes, it's the Rhino. When you collect all the parts needed for the Rhino and you eventually use that gun, it feels so good because it is so powerful. It's so much stronger than everything else. And that is an example of great collectibles, in my opinion. That's what I'm saying. It can be either a bad thing or good thing. Generally speaking, people hate it. But, you know, it could be done in a nice way, a great way that does kind of make you engage with it a little bit more. I think the next 2 points that I do want to make are universally just bad, and those are glitch trophies as well as missable trophies. Now, missable trophies is something that I think should not be in trophy lists, especially when games do not have chapter select. There are far too many games that do not have chapter select and require you to follow a guide to the T to make sure that you're not missing certain things. And you know, that can add like another 10 to 15 hours to a playthrough, depending on how long the game is. If I finish a game and realize that I did not get a collectible as a casual, dog, I would not be going back to that game. I would leave it completed on my list. Obviously, like I said, from a content creator's perspective, it's a little different because you kind of have to go back and clean that thing up. But I think generally speaking, the general audience would kind of be like, nah, you know, I've done this game, I've paid it for like 40 hours doing every single thing, and I missed one thing and I get punished for it. Like, that just doesn't feel good. So, you know, I can understand people putting games off because of that. And then, like I mentioned as well, glitched trophies. Glitch trophies are such a buzzkill. Now, generally speaking, developers, you know, this is something on your side of the ball. I don't think any developers would watch this video, but the point I'm trying to make is this is something that they need to not drop the ball on. And yes, if sometimes things slip through the cracks, and you know, all is forgiven, especially when it is patched quite quickly. But you know, I've heard far too many cases of games being unobtainable because of glitch trophies, and then it has to be patched out later, and then that fixes the trophies, and you know, it ruins the whole race for first on some games and things like that. So I mean, you know, I just don't think it's a good time to have glitch trophies. I know I have a personal horror story with glitch trophies, specifically in Naruto Ultimate Ninja Storm 2. I played the game the first time through, collecting all the collectibles on my way through, you know, thinking I'm just making the playthrough a bit shorter for myself for doing everything in one go. Little did I know that getting the collectibles would glitch the one trophy, I think, for collecting all the scrolls, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a while at this point, so excuse me if I am wrong. But the point I'm trying to make is it was a collectible and it caused a glitch, and the trophy just didn't pop when I finished everything. This just required me to do a whole new playthrough, and I was a bit of an idiot and I did a second playthrough on New Game Plus, and that just meant that all the collectibles was already collected. So I had to do a third playthrough after deleting my save data and, you know, following a specific guide and, you know, purposefully ignoring every single collectible in the game until the end, and then collecting everything. That was the only way to pop the trophy for me. And I think to this day, I still get people that come to that video and comment on it. So if you guys want to see that, you know, I'll leave it linked in the description below, and, you know, the little card at the top. So check it out for yourself. Yeah, it can cause a lot of pain and suffering. And, you know, it can be the difference between you saying, hell yes, you just got that plat, and hell no, I'm not going to do this again. I'm not going to suffer another 20 hours for a platinum, you know. And then I think one of the last topics that I do want to bring up, oh, there's actually two, but the first one is very grindy games, and I don't mean very grindy games in general. The thing with very grindy games is there's a lot of nuance to it. I think you can do grinding games well. I think you can do grinding games bad. An example for me would be something like Red Dead Redemption 2. I think the game is exceptional. I think it's a top 5 game for me. It might even be a top 3 game for me of all time. But the platinum trophy kind of ruins the experience because of how grindy certain things are, like the hunting for animals, and you know, the online can drag and be tedious to get to a certain level. And I think that's the biggest thing that I want to bring to you guys' attention. Most trophy lists generally require you to hit a certain level at the end of the game. What I will say is that when you do play a game all the way through with all side content completed and things like that, I think you should be either max level, popping that trophy, or you should be extremely close to getting that trophy. Problem is, some games leave you at level 40 when you're supposed to be at level 50, and this is after completing all the content in the game. So imagine yourself sitting there having to grind 10 more levels, and obviously you know this scales exponentially. So towards the latter end of the level grind, it generally becomes longer and longer to gain experience for that level, and that is what makes a bad grindy game, when you have nothing else to grind besides just levels. And I think generally speaking, it also doesn't reward you for anything. Like, yes, you might get a skill point or like something here or there, but at this point you've beaten the game. There's no point in you gaining any more skill points. You just want to be done with the game. And you know, there is exceptions to this rule, like things like, what do you call it, ARPG games, for example, or a game like Borderlands, where you have in-game chase items where you are chasing specific pieces of gear because there's RNG attached to how good that gear is. That is a different case. You know, then level becomes totally irrelevant because you just be playing the game for the chase of better items. Grinding games can be a buzzkill as well. But then again, you could also just like the game that much to the point where you just keep playing and keep playing and keep playing. I know a lot of friends that play certain games over and over and over, story games even, just because they enjoy the game that much. So, you know, sometimes there is also the nuance of the game being or needing to be good, and that can obviously contribute to how much you would enjoy continuing that grind. I think the last one I'm going to leave you guys off with is something a little controversial, and that is RNG trophies. So with RNG trophies, me personally, I do not mind them. I know a lot of people are going to pull their faces when they hear me say that, and I think a lot of people are going to be like, Sean, what are you on about, dog? Like, RNG trophies are a bad thing. I feel like, yes, they can, but also they can be fun. I kind of like RNG. I play some gacha games off stream, and like I mentioned, ARPG games, those have a lot of RNG, like just in the DNA of the game itself. And I think I've kind of gotten sensitized, or desensitized rather, to, you know, RNG in games. Now there is nuance again, like with all these topics. When a trophy is like, when you have to do something that is 1 out of 1,000, that is bad RNG, because the numbers are so rare. You know, you're chasing a 1 in a 1,000 chance of something happening for you to pop a trophy, whereas 1 in 20 chance isn't that bad, you know. And if the game loop supports the fact that it has RNG trophies and it's a fun game loop, I feel like, you know, who doesn't enjoy putting more time into games that they actually like? So my main example that I will always come back to is Returnal. I think Returnal is an exceptional game. For anyone that hasn't played the game, definitely pick it up if it is on sale or something and play it. I think they do RNG pretty decently. There is like these ruined things that you need to collect, and I mean, for me personally, I don't feel like I did that many runs after collecting everything else to actually get that. And because it's a roguelike, generally speaking, your experience will be very different from run to run. So, you know, I think those are things that kind of make the RNG trophy worth it. But, you know, there's obviously the other extreme where it's a 1 in 10,000 chance of getting a certain thing, and, you know, it just completely ruins your whole experience, because people could be grinding hours and hours for a certain item, and then others could take, you know, 30 minutes. It might drop on their first attempt. So yeah, it depends on how your luck is on the day. But yeah, that's essentially the kind of things that I want to bring to the channel more often, you know, little discussion videos, asking you guys how you feel about certain topics. So if you guys want to chime in on this, if you guys have any ideas or, you know, any feelings towards any of these topics that I brought up, please be sure to leave it in the comments down below. And yeah, let's have a discussion. And like I said, if you guys want to hear anything else from me, if you guys want to discuss anything else or have an idea of what you guys want to hear me talk about and get my opinion on it, I mean, I am more than open to talking about anything. So leave that in the comments too. And I would also like to say thank you so much for all the subscribers, guys. I've been getting a crazy amount of love and support in the past few days. It seems like DMC is actually doing really good for my channel. So if you guys want to check those videos out, I will leave a link in the description to the playlist for all the DMC videos. And I am on the road to 1,000 subscribers. So if you guys would like to subscribe, I encourage you guys to do so. It's free. You can always unsubscribe if you don't like the content anymore. And yeah, that's my closing thoughts. So yeah, what is your guys' opinions on this? What is a good platinum trophy versus what is a bad platinum trophy for you guys? Leave it in the comments below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace and love, boys.